faithful. Thanks for joining us on the weekly Niners news update. Today we're going to be talking about the most recent preseason game that we had against the San Diego Los Angeles Chargers, in which we did pick up the 15-10 win. Always good to win, even though it's a preseason game and it doesn't really mean anything. Always good to watch the Niners get the win. A lot of players really looked pretty good today. First and foremost, the one that sticks out is at one point when Easton Stick, who was starting at quarterback for the Chargers, was kind of like rolling out to his right. Eric Armstead gave him good pursuit and actually had a lot of good speed on the play, kind of chased him down and made a big sack as he was about to take it up for a. He was just about to get a positive gain. He sacked him for like a loss of I think it was about 2 yards, but he'd rolled out pretty deep, and then like Armstead like kind of pursued him all the way around and got a really nice sack on him, which was huge. Um,
Nice.
and then the following play, which was a third down play, Easton Stick was looking across the middle for his receiver, and Diamador Lenore, uh,
Diamador Lenoir.
yeah,
No, isn't
exactly,
it? Is it Lenoir? No, it's Lenore. It's Lenore.
yeah,
It is. It looks like it is.
yeah, yeah. You just want to call it Lenoir, but yeah,
Lenoir. It just looks
Lenoir.
like it.
But yeah, Diamador Lenore made a nice drive-ending play when he broke up the pass, and to that point, he hasn't allowed a completion on him all season. The Niners started him for the second consecutive game. Kyle decided to start him and Ambry Thomas, our two rookie corners, in both the preseason games, and both of them have looked pretty good for the most part. Um, on the offensive side, Jimmy started the game. He played one series, which was a long 15 play drive. He looked pretty good for the most part, but he did do some things. Namely, he had a couple high passes, which I'm sure he would have liked to have back. His best passing play was a 9 yard completion, 9 yard completion to Juice on the outside, which picked up a first down. His best play on the game, though, had to have been on a third down or I think it was actually a second down scramble where he ran for 10 yards and basically
Is that
just
where he slid? Did he slide at
yeah
the end
he,
of it?
he he juked the guy at first. He juked the guy and put a move on him, and then he slid. Yeah, but he gained 10 yards and picked up the first down. And it's honestly
That
the
was a nice
most
one.
elusive that I've seen him look in years. So it
Yeah,
definitely looks like his ankle's back at full strength, which
yeah,
is
and that's
great to see.
very important and
Yeah,
great. Like we don't need that ankle getting hurt again.
yeah, it was kind of nerve wracking to see him run. Like it was as exciting as it was. It was like, oh shit, get down. I was like, this
The
is
juke is what made me the most nervous when he
yeah,
didn't just
yeah,
like when he
potentially like
tried.
putting weight on his ankle or something.
Yeah, I was like, no, dude, no. But then he slid down. I was like, thank
Yeah,
God. But that
and
juke
he got
man was
right
like,
back up,
ugh.
and he looked excited.
Yeah,
So
luckily.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was sweating bullets about that too. Um, I mean, they took it on a 15 play drive. They were getting towards the red zone, and then Jimmy was targeting Ayuk on a mid range pass, and like I said, he had a couple passes that were high on the day. Even some of the ones that were completed, were kind of like going up on the receivers. And
Hmm.
he hit Trey, or I'm sorry, hit Ayuk right in the hands. The ball bounced off his hands and right into the hands of Asante Samuel Jr. Um, so that wasn't good. So that
That was
ended,
an unfortunate,
yeah,
unfortunate bounce.
yeah, exactly. And that ended what was a pretty encouraging first drive by the Niners. Most of their first string guys. They didn't play everybody, but the majority of the ones that they did have in there came out after that one series. And early in the second quarter, they went to Trey Lance, and Trey targeted Mohamed Sanu across the middle, and the pass was also a little bit high, bounced off Mohamed Sanu's hands. And another issue that Trey's had is they were talking about it. Trey, I guess, has had the most dropped catchable balls in the NFL. It's like seven at this point.
You
Um,
mean like during the preseason?
yeah, during the preseason. where his
Oh
receivers
wow.
have dropped the
Well,
ball.
that
Now,
first game he had like three huge
yeah,
drops.
yeah, he had three, and then he had like three or four more in the second game, and then he had a few
Jeez.
more in tonight's game as well. So yeah, and he throws the ball with a lot of velocity, and you hope
Yeah.
that the receivers will just get more used to catching a ball like that. But I mean, he puts a lot of pop on the throw, and a lot of times the receivers aren't ready for it. And he
Yeah.
also had
He
one
might need to
bounce
tone it
off.
down a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, he had one bounce off Mohamed Sanu's hands and also got picked. So he, for the second straight week, started off a little bit inconsistent. He settled down and ended up going 8 of 14 for 102 yards. And he ended up throwing two touchdowns, one right before halftime on a really nice 2 minute drive to Mohamed Sanu. And then later in the third quarter, he hit Travis Benjamin and he set it up with a nice deep pass to go into Trent Sherfield again. He really likes
Trent
that.
Sherfield's had a very good
Yeah,
preseason.
Trent Sherfield's been tearing it up. I mean, he's
Yeah,
absolutely made this team like 100%.
absolutely.
Yeah, I think he might even be. I mean, he's either the third or fourth receiver. I mean, it's
I would
gonna
say
be
so.
it's gonna be Ayuk, Debo, possibly Mohamed Sanu as the third, and then but it could also be
Sherfield.
Sherfield. But
Yeah,
it's either going to be him
I
or
agree.
Sanu, three or four. And I think the Niners will keep six receivers. So you figure maybe Travis Benjamin because Richie James just went down with a 6 week knee injury. He's expected to miss the first 6 weeks of the season, and that's why they re-signed.
That's unfortunate.
They cut River Craycroft and then they re-signed him like the next day because they needed him.
River Craig Craft
Yeah,
is his
River
actual name,
River
isn't it?
Craycraft is back. Yeah, what did, I called
There's
him
a
River.
street. There's these streets called River and
I
Craycroft.
called
So
him River.
to
Oh
us,
my God, I called him River.
yeah,
Okay, yeah.
you call them
Well,
River and Craycroft.
yeah,
But yeah,
okay. Well, yeah, that's an intersection here.
intersection in
But yeah,
Arizona or yeah, in Arizona.
exactly. But yeah, River Craycraft. Yeah, exactly. The NFL player, not the intersection, is back, and he has the potential to play special teams and be a return guy. So we'll
First
see
time
if
I
he.
heard that name, man, I was like,
Yeah.
wait, what? What's
What's his
his
name?
name?
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I mean, like even though that's on the quarterbacks to either take a little bit off the ball or like Jimmy to maybe lower the ball and even Trey on some of the passes to lower the ball and not throw it so high, put it up on your receivers so
Yeah,
much. Um, those receivers have to come up with the plays too. I mean, on both of those situations, even though they were high, the receivers did get their hands on both of them. So you got to make a better play on that, and that was something that Niners receivers have struggled with throughout the preseason. It was definitely better in tonight's game from what I saw. They didn't drop as many passes, but there were still some. Hopefully that is shored up by the 12th in the opener against Detroit. And the other thing that was notable that I thought was most interesting in the game is we like to run the ball, more often than we pass, and we played the game without our top four running backs. There was no Raheem Mostert. Couldn't say that for a second. There we go. No Trey Sermon, no Elijah Mitchell, and obviously no Jeff Wilson because he's injured currently. So only two running backs played besides Juice, the fullback, if you count him. It was Wayne Gallman, former Giant, and Jamichael Hasty. And they split the reps pretty evenly. Gallman had 15 carries for 72. Hasty had 19 for 58. And for the second straight week, we demolished the
yeah,
Chargers
the
in
running
the running
game.
game. Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
not the Chargers for 2 weeks, but yeah, two games in a row with
yeah, yeah. Exactly.
way more
We
running
outran
offense.
the Chiefs. I want to say it was about 150 to 60 or something, and then we outran
Yeah, it was
the
almost 100 like this one,
yeah,
right?
exactly. So we
100
definitely
difference.
yeah. So it's good to see even in the preseason that the zone run scheme that we run so well is working even without our starting backs. And I think that Hasty played well enough between what he did last season for us when we were banged up and what
Mm.
he did in the preseason. I think he could make the roster at least if he doesn't make the 53, at least get on the practice squad.
Yeah, I agree.
And the defense managed to get 5 sacks on the day. The biggest for sure had to be a sack in the end zone of Easton Stick that resulted in a
That was a
safety to put the
that was a
Niners
big
up 2
one.
nothing. That was, and that forced a punt back to us, and like I mentioned, a 2 nothing lead. Samson Ibukam, Eric Armstead, as I mentioned earlier, Kai Nakua, and Contavious Street all also got sacks. It was good to see Contavious Street get a sack. He's been a guy that's been on the Niners for the last couple seasons, and he finally started to get some playing time last year when we were banged up. He was actually the guy that put the hit on Breeze that put him out, Contavious
Oh
Street.
wow.
Yeah, so kind of inadvertently ending Drew Brees' career. Um, but yeah, Contavious Street got a sack in that game, so the Niners D got 5 sacks with our second team guys, so that was good to see.
Great.
Good pressure. Talanoa Hufanga looked great again at safety. He broke through the line a couple times and hit the Chargers running back in the backfield. He's been starting a lot at safety, um, along with Ha Ha Clinton Dix, since we had been banged up at safety. But it looks like Jaquiski Tart is finally cleared as well. But he looks like he's going to be a good safety for us. He's a good player that can play right around the line of scrimmage, can probably play as like a sub linebacker or a safety. He's got good versatility and he can play special teams as well. So I think that he's going to be a good player for us. All the guys we got in the
Definitely.
secondary, I think, are good. Diamador is good. Ambry Thomas, I think, is going to be pretty good, and Talanoa Hufanga. I think the 3 guys we
I
got in the
guess they're
secondary.
calling that guy Demo. I think for short, they're calling
Demo,
him
yeah,
Demo. That's what the announcers
yeah,
are saying.
yeah. I'll probably just call him that because it's easier than saying
Yeah,
Diamador,
it's easier. I
not
like saying the
but not nearly as
Diamador
fun. Yeah,
Lenoir, but
yeah,
it's not as fun. But yeah, it's
yeah.
quicker.
Yeah, and then later the Chargers made the switch to Chase Daniel, who's a 10-year veteran backup, and he got picked off by Jared Maiden, who's a corner trying to make the team. He would have returned it for a pick six, but there was a holding penalty, and that was probably the number one drawback. I mean, we got the 15-10 win, but we had I think it was 12 penalties. The Chargers I think had about 12 themselves. It was just a sloppy performance,
Wow,
and we
I
definitely
didn't realize that.
look to get that cleaned up. But yeah, it really slowed the pace of the game down a lot. I think the game
Wow.
could have been a lot more high scoring if had it not been for that.
Yeah, definitely.
Penalties always slow you down
Yeah,
and kind of stall
absolutely.
drives out. But we did get 2 Trey Lance touchdown passes and a safety. But Robbie missed an extra point for the
Yeah,
second
that was
straight week.
unfortunate.
That
It's
was a
like,
bummer.
what the fuck? What's
Yeah,
going on, Robbie?
yeah. Robbie's hopefully get it out of your system in the preseason, Robbie. We need you. Um, But yeah, so also Nate Sudfeld made his 49ers preseason debut, much anticipated. He's the guy that we got rid of Josh Rosen for to assumingly be our third quarterback if we keep 3. Otherwise, it'll just be Jimmy and Trey Lance. But Sudfeld, he did some all right things, but he did have a fumble that he lost in the exchange with his center, which you can't have that. That's a sloppy play. But
Yeah,
passing wise, he was 3 out of 5 for 24 yards. Um, but yeah, I mean it's going to be interesting to see if when they do the cut downs to the 53 man, if Sudfeld is brought back because like I said, I mean Rosen was expected to be maybe the third string guy, but we released him. So if we keep a third stringer, it's going to be Sudfeld. So we'll see what happens there.
yeah.
And last guy I was going to talk about, well, I mentioned him a little bit earlier, was James Jr. He had a 3-yard punt return in the fourth quarter. However, it was revealed after the game that he's got a knee injury and he'll be out the next 6 weeks. The Niners waived him, which basically means that if he clears waivers, he'll default to the 49ers injured reserve, um, which they can bring a few players back from injured reserve. So it'll be interesting to see if maybe they try to bring him back at some point. But if not, unfortunately, Richie's season looks like it could be over before it even began, which is unfortunate because
That's always unfortunate.
yeah, and he had his best season as a receiver. He's always been a good return guy, but he had his best season as a receiver last year when we were, you know, the game that really comes
Yeah.
to mind is against the Packers when, we had like three. It was him, it was River Craycraft, and it was like Kevin White. We had like three receivers up the whole game, and he was the one that pretty much handled the bulk of the work. But yeah, it's unfortunate to see anytime there's an injury. But yeah, that's all we've got for this week's Niner news update. Join us next week as we cover the cut down to the final 53 man roster. Thank you for everybody for joining us today.